Focus moves to the NFC side of things. We're previewing the 2025 season and the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, and of course the Washington Commanders. Who can topple those Philadelphia Eagles in 2025 on today's Peacock and Williamson?
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us as we get ready for 2025, previewing the NFC East here and talking about some breakout players potentially in this division and who got better in the East trying to take down those division champ Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, you can find this podcast everywhere you find your podcasts, including on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed up there. If you want to get involved in this week's mailbag or next week's mailbag, then do that on the YouTube comments or hit us up on Twitter. So, Matt, Philadelphia Eagles, 14-3 football team last year, hoisted the Lombardi. Is this a football team that got even better in 2025?
I'm going to say no. I mean, obviously there's nowhere to go but down. But, I mean, the roster to me is weaker, especially on defense. The offense to me is pretty much rolling it back. You hope Barkley didn't have too much of a workload and stays healthy, but they'll run the ball great with or without him. You swap out Becton for, a little uncertainty at one guard position. But overall, it's the same group. Lane Johnson returns, and I think it's a powerhouse offense. Even if I'm not the biggest Hurts fan, he's still a plus player, and the offense to me is loaded. I do expect them to have to throw the ball a little more. I mean, I don't know that they're just going to run, and always be winning late in games. It might be a little more of a challenge in terms of run-pass ratio. But I think the defense is still in good hands. They drafted Campbell in the first round to pair with Bond. That's a pretty exciting middle of the defense. And you got DeJean and you got Mitchell. The D-line took some hits, and that worries me a little. They have guys waiting in the wings, and I trust them to develop them. With some of the breakout guys I have are D-linemen from the Eagles. But I would think the defense is set to probably take a small step backwards.
I kind of look at some of the breakout players potentially and some of the younger players continue to develop, which is why you're excited about the Philadelphia Eagles potentially not getting worse and taking a step back and even potentially getting better. But when you look at the Eagles and how they're built, offensive line, defensive line, that's where they took their biggest hits in the offseason. And it's honestly, it's one of the first teams where you're like, oh, you know what? On paper, they're probably not better. Almost every team you can say,
always think they are,
right? The Eagles, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, and that's what happens when you're at the top and you lose players, through free agency and but man, they still got
at the bottom of the draft and right.
But I mean, the talent that's still on this team is insane. With Saquon Barkley, hope he's able to stay healthy after a huge workload last year. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith at wide receiver, but they still have the best bookend offensive tackles in the NFL too, with Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. And Jordan Mailata has sort of joined Lane Johnson in that elite territory.
100%. And frankly, I still think it's the best roster in the league. And I'm not even sure who number 2 is. Maybe the Ravens. I don't know. And especially if you would just say non-quarterback roster, far and away number 1. You could weight Mahomes or Allen or Lamar or somebody higher than, but well coached. I mean, Fangio, I'm sure, isn't too concerned about the defense. They did draft defense pretty strongly, and they always develop. So I think they're in a wonderful spot.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Vic Fangio values linebackers more than previous.
The
Eagles did previously, I guess we put it that way. And, how he's been able to turn Zach Bond into what he became last year. Nakobe Dean, they added Jihad Campbell this year as their top pick. So clearly it's been something they've tried to address on the back 7 in recent years to success.
Yeah, and I think that was a front office money ball kind of, we're not going to pay running backs, we're not going to pay linebackers, we're not going to pay safeties. And then, well, Saquon's making the same as Gabe Davis. Let's sign him because he's awesome and he's way better than Gabe Davis. And the linebacker thing they kind of stumbled into. It wasn't like Bond and Dean were massive assets. And then, boy, having a great linebacker is pretty nice. Let's get 2 and use one in the first round,
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, you plug Saquon Barkley into that, and you don't have to spend any draft picks on it. He's basically year to year, even though you're paying him a lot for a running back. It's not a lot for a skill position on offense for how much you're using him. And if things break down for him, it's basically a year-to-year contract. So, I mean, it's kind of, and what you've got that, I talk about all the time, he had 1,000 yards before he was touched by defenders last year.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I'm sure his year won't be as good. Yeah, I mean, he was MVP category. I mean, he'll score more shorter touchdowns and all that stuff, but and he should be considered for first pick overall in your fantasy draft. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but
Madden curse, Matt. Madden curse. Watch out,
Madden guy.
It's the 350
touch curse.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what you worry about there. But again, they'll run the ball fine, whether it's Will Shipley or AJ Dillon or
that's the thing. I mean, if Barkley
back there
gets hurt in the first drive of week 1, they're still going to be a Super Bowl favorite.
Yep. Totally agree. And a lot to be, Tyler Steen jumping in at right guard, they'll be fine. They still got a really good offensive line. The defensive line and that pass rush is probably what you're looking at. If they take a step back, that's where they will the roster.
I mean, you lose Sweat and Milt Williams. I mean, they lost a lot. I mean, of high quality athletic guys. Now, Carter could win Defensive Player of the Year, though.
True. Yeah. Again, it's about that young talent on defense and how that has developed under Vic Fangio. And signs are good that that's going in the right direction, and they should not fall off the Philadelphia Eagles. Or at least I wouldn't project them to fall off much.
No, I'd be shocked.
We'll talk about some breakouts there on that roster and all of these rosters at the end of this program. Next is the Washington Commanders, who were an upstart team last year and just arrived immediately with a fully developed superstar quarterback and a 12-win team in the East that really nobody saw coming.
So, wonderful story. I'm so happy that they're relevant again. I mean, I remember the Joe Gibbs Redskins at the time were such a perennial contender. And that fan base doesn't deserve what they got during the whole Daniel Snyder era. But this is a team I am most reluctant to jump on board with. And I'm not saying they're worse than last year, but I think that they will have a worse season than last year for a couple of reasons. Is the plexiglass principle. I mean, you just rarely take, you never take that.
We got to talk about the principle.
You got to talk about the plexiglass principle. People will have a better idea what Daniels brings to the table, and are planning as we speak accordingly. But they're the oldest team in the league. I mean, despite having a super young quarterback, they are a super old team. Ertz and Eckler and Wagner and Debo and all these dudes, and the guys they added were, veterans this year too, that they invested in. I wonder when that's going to run its course. And they pretty much converted like every fourth down they tried, and they tried a million of them. Like, that's not going to keep up. I mean, there's some things that went their way,
Terry McLaurin at this recording is looking like a holdout and not happy with his contract situation in Washington. You got to have your top weapon if you're Jayden Daniels, and you don't want to have that sophomore slump that is all too common around the NFL. Teams are obviously going to have all that film from last year to watch and have new ways to
at least attack them. Yeah.
Right. And attack Jayden Daniels in that offense. So they bring in Debo Samuel, though, to complement Terry McLaurin, and you hope Terry McLaurin is out there and re-signed and everything's good there. I would assume that they would want to have the veteran long-term deal with Terry McLaurin, right? For young quarterbacks. Yeah. I'm not sure what the holdup is.
Weird to me that's still lingering.
Wide receiver money's gotten out of control, though. So I can see some people being like, hey, this is okay. Terry McLaurin, we have to give him $35 million? Like, what do you have to give Terry McLaurin, right? And so
he's a little older than you think, too. He came in the league as an older player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Last year's rookie Luke McCaffrey, I'm not sure if there was enough returns there to believe that he's going to be able to step up and be, a starting caliber player. There's talk that Michael Gallup might not even make the team. He's not the same player he used to be. He brought in Jalen Lane at wide receiver. They got Noah Brown there, a veteran as well. So just an interesting group. If Terry McLaurin's not there, things really change. And Deebo Samuel's not the type of like go get open against man coverage type of guy. We know what Deebo is, zone guy and get the ball in his hands and let him go make plays after the catch.
My concerns are on defense. I mean, I think the back seven's okay. I like the corner situation, but it wasn't long ago that they had all those Alabama dudes and first-round picks across their defensive line, Chase Young and Sweat and Payne and Allen. That's not how they're built at all now. And I don't see the edge pass rush at all. I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts, much like the Bengals. But supporting cast on offense clearly got better. I mean, I think their O-line has a chance to be really good. You added Tunsil and a first-round tackle. You get to move a guy inside, although Cosme's not going to start the season healthy. He was their best lineman last year, and Deebo. So I think the offense is going to be very high-flying, but I have questions about the defense.
I mean, and their defense wasn't great shakes last year, and they still won 12 games. So if you get a little bit better, and there's some reason to be excited and some breakout possibilities. They've added Von Miller to that defense.
Yeah,
we'll talk about some of the breakout players there as well. And again, bookend tackles, new bookend tackles, which was so important, especially for your young quarterbacks. You got Laramie Tunsil on the left side. Josh Connolly comes in, competes for that right tackle spot to start his career there in Washington. And so I think, to answer the question of did they get better? I think Washington did get better. You got to get Terry McLaurin signed to really make me feel good about it. And
they clearly got better on offense, and the offense was already great. I just don't know that the results will be as good.
Yes.
For the team as a whole.
Could get better and still not win 12 games, but I think it's still going to be a playoff team as long as Jayden Daniels doesn't completely fall on his face in year.
I mean, they were Final Four team last year. I mean, talk about outkicking your coverage at this time.
Right. Adjustments to the adjustments is the theme for 2025 for the Washington Commanders. What about the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants? Did they get better? A lot of room to improve for both of those franchises. Had really rough years and some breakout players to watch in 2025 in camp, in preseason, in the NFC East. Next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money was easier? Monarch Money, it is. And whether you're growing your savings, planning for a big purchase, maybe you're trying to buy that first home, maybe you're saving for your new child's college education, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, all your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth and you're managing money with your partner. So shared accounts can be tracked as well to keep things very simple and easy without the stress when you are managing your money with another person, which can always be difficult. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. So the Dallas Cowboys, they had a very disappointing, injury-riddled 7-10 season in 2024. Just by being healthier, could the Dallas Cowboys be that playoff team that they probably thought they were going to be in 2024? And did the Dallas Cowboys get better? How do you view this team going into 2025, man?
I'm not certain what their over-under win total's at right now, but the over is one of my favorite bets in the league right now. I think Dallas is being slept on a little. Dak Prescott 2 years ago was runner-up for MVP. I mean, people forget that. And I think he's a high-end quarterback that gets way too scrutinized because he's the center fielder for the Yankees. You know what I mean? He's in the wrong neighborhood. I mean, I think if he can be healthy for the whole year, I think they could potentially win the division or win 11 games and be a playoff type team. They've invested so much in the O-line. I think that I don't care who the ball carriers are. They're probably the worst running back room in the league, but I really don't care. I think they'll run the ball well with a highly talented offensive line. I think the Pickens addition is massive. I mean, he got doubled here all the time. And if he's just going to beat man coverage and throw it up for him while CeeDee Lamb leads the team in receptions, I think that's a massive boost to the offense. Tight end position's fine. Micah Parsons, we were talking about the other day, I thought he was the best player in the league, basically, when he came back from injury last year. I mean, he's probably going to be my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. They've got a ton of former first-round picks on defense. Most of them are washouts, but they've a lot of reclamation projects. Yeah. And, I mean, I think the defense should be decent, led by Parsons. And I wish they did more. I wish they were more aggressive of an organization in free agency. They don't do anything anymore. But I think they're kind of being slept on as a team that could really push for playoffs and more.
I wonder how in a stacked running back draft they ended up with Jayden Blue, and that's kind of it to go with Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, who we liked a lot on this podcast, and just injuries, and it just hasn't quite worked out as he knew. You expect him to have a fully healthy season. So
that's
just
the best you could do this offseason, right? Is that running back room, right?
It's not that hard to find running backs, which is why their value is low. But you a couple years in a row now, it's like, can we figure out that position, please?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that,
trade for Travis Etienne or something. But
right.
Maybe
I would love it. I think it's perfect, actually.
Yeah.
But the addition of George Pickens is huge. So you give your Batman a Robin, a number 2 guy that can go get it. Jonathan Mingo wasn't going to be that. Jalen Tolbert has proven that he's not going to be that. But now those guys can battle to be, wide receiver 3. Paris Campbell is around. Kavontae Turpin can be a gadgety player for you while he picks as well. And so I like the playmakers there. And a healthy Dak Prescott, I think, could absolutely thrive and go a little crazy. And by the way, Joe Milton, the backup quarterback there now,
kind of fun,
in Dallas, which would be very interesting if Dak does have some injuries. And then the offensive line, this is probably the biggest key because they need that development. You need Tyler Guyton to be the guy in year 2, to be your blindside left tackle, and Cooper Beebe's development at center, and some other young players on that offensive line.
Smith's one of the best guards in the league. No one ever talks about too. He's a really, really good player. The other thing too about the Pickens addition, if they were to lose CeeDee Lamb for 2 or 3 games, I don't know where their points would have came from. And now it's like, we can survive, a tragedy. For Absolutely. A short stretch.
It's complementary. Like Lamb and Pickens, the perfect compliments, because they couldn't be more different.
Couldn't be more different, right? Yeah. And Dak will throw it up for him. I mean, he will make the tough throws and downfield. And I think Pickens could have a monster year. In a contract situation, him motivated with a better quarterback, I think he could blow up there.
Sneaky draft pick Donovan Ezeraku.
Yeah,
around to go with Micah Parsons, give you a little juice.
I think Sam Williams is a decent player too. Their front is better than you think.
Yeah,
Diggy Zuwa is a decent player. I mean, the kid from Michigan, the nose tackle's been a flat out bust.
Mozzie Smith,
he needs to do something for you. But the front's pretty good. The other thing looming is the linebacker from Texas. I'm pulling up the depth chart. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
DeMarvion Overshown?
Yeah, I love him. And then that injury is nasty, brutal. That's a big loss for them. I don't know if he'll play at all this year. But boy, there's few that cover ground like him. He
was a really underrated football player too that not a lot of people talked about, and was really good. So you hate to see those types of injuries. Do they have enough in the back end? The back 7 of the defense is probably the big question.
Questionable. There's a lot of reclamation projects, Malik Hooker and Khalil Elam and guys like that, in Ravel. What are you going to get out of him as a rookie? And, we'll see. I think it's worth noting, though, we never bring this up, but they basically have the best kicker in the league and are really, really good on special teams, too. I mean, that returner is a stud, and Aubrey's a big time guy, too. He
made the Locked On Top 100.
That's why I was on top of my head. Yeah.
How about the New York Giants? Did they get better? This is a tough team because you go from a veteran to potentially a rookie quarterback with, another veteran in front of him, competing with him in Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and then Jackson Dart. So how that all works itself out in camp will be super interesting. One of the biggest storylines I'm sure talked about in training camps around the NFL is Jackson Dart versus Russell Wilson versus, I don't know if Jameis Winston's even in the versus, just weird double veteran.
Get traded? I don't know.
But even what is this scenario that any of that could even be better than what they had, which they needed to improve from last year? I mean, that's the number one thing you got to answer if you're talking about if the New York Giants got better, even though they're a 3-win team. They can't figure out a quarterback. They're not going to be better.
I think they massively got better. Now, it might not matter. They play in a really brutal division. They play the hardest schedule in the league. There could be quarterbacks getting swapped in and out and hot seat and all that stuff. But I think you go from the worst quarterback situation to 22nd. I mean, it's a big jump. I mean, at least they have NFL quarterbacks now, maybe even 3 of them. Tommy Cutlets is not an NFL quarterback.
I think you see Russ Wilson at this point in his career higher than I do, because I don't know that
I'm
much
pretty
of an
down
upgrade
on him
over Daniel Jones.
See, I was thinking more of like Tommy Cutlets, not more than Jones. I mean,
right. Okay. Well, yeah.
Who they had to play with for much of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably take Jones over Russ. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But I do think the quarterback room should be respectable. I mean, it's not just a mess. The O-line, I think, can be respectable with Thomas coming back. It's not great. The offense, to me, is still worrisome, but the pass catchers are good. Neighbors is a star. I think the defense has a chance to be one of the best in the league. That's why I'm so kind of excited about what the Giants can do.
I mean, what they put together with that defensive line and that pass rush is scary. And if they're going to be a lot better, and they had a lot of this last year too, and they were still a 3-win team, but
exactly. But Lawrence this time, and
Dexter Lawrence, one of the best players in the NFL. Period. You got Brian Burns and
Thibodeau,
Kayvon Thibodeau with the rookie
Carter.
I mean, Carter,
that's crazy.
Is just ridiculously talented, and if spring practices were any indication, those guys are going to be on the field at the same time.
Yeah, they also drafted Darius Alexander in the middle as a rotational player. I liked him quite a bit. Okereke is a really good second-level linebacker. They haven't had good linebackers like since Lawrence Taylor. And Javon Holland, to me, is one of the best safeties in the league. They added him. I like the Debo a lot. They need more out of Banks, but Drew Phillips is a good player. I think Nubin's an interesting dude. But it starts up front. I mean, the defense might be on the field a ton. The numbers might not bear it out when it's said and done. But I think it's got a chance to be one of the best defenses in the league. And they still might get fired,
Is Tyrone Tracy one of the more underrated players in the league and underrated important players?
I think so.
Because we haven't talked about it. And if you're trying to keep games close and play with your defense, maybe it's not as much about the quarterback, but it's about the offensive line in that run game.
And I wasn't the biggest Scattaboo fan of all time, but I think he's a good compliment to Tracy. I think Tracy's going to be the lead guy, especially in passing situations. And that's a name I've been picking up on the cheap in all my dynasty leagues. Everyone's off of him now because Scattaboo's there. I think Tracy's just kind of scratching the surface of what he could be. I mean, he was a wide receiver like 2 years ago.
Which leads us into breakout players. I think, in the NFC East. So let's talk about them. And I think Tracy, even if he's already somewhat broken out, a new level he could get to potentially in 2025 for the New York Giants and other breakout players to watch for every team in the NFC East. Next. I'm with you on Tyrone Tracy. I think the New York Giants, you can say that both Saquon Barkley is awesome and has been phenomenal for the Philadelphia Eagles, and also that he wouldn't have done that, and the Giants wouldn't have won a Super Bowl if they held on to Saquon Barkley, right? And I think the shrewd move of not keeping Saquon Barkley was not necessarily a bad move and isn't the reason the Eagles are where they are and the Giants are where they are. And
the Giants would not have won the Super Bowl last year if they kept Saquon Barkley.
It's because Tyrone Tracy is a really good player, and I think potentially breaking out into another level this year. So even though I think a lot of people know who Tyrone Tracy is, I'm with you, man. He's one of the easiest targets in fantasy football, and I don't think Cam Scatterbo's a threat at all.
I think he's vastly overrated because he's got a fun name and he's a really good college player. My other Giants, Theo Johnson. I think is going to be a legit starting tight end. He's huge. He's really athletic. I watched a lot of him at Penn State, and they didn't feature him, but I think he's got it takes tight ends a while. I think he could be a perfect example. I'll be honest. This division had fewer breakout guys than any. My other 2 Giants were guys I mentioned before. Nubin, I thought was a good player at Minnesota, and it'll be a quality starting safety for years to come. And then here's a weird one. Thibodeau. Highly motivated. They just drafted a guy to basically replace him, go past them. I've always heard that he's kind of a weird dude. He kind of beats to his own drummer. And I think he's going to be a breakout player for the team that trades for him at the trade deadline.
Okay.
when he goes to Kansas City or Buffalo or, and just we're talking about him in the playoffs,
It looks like he's going to be on the field a lot too. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
do
like
too.
he's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to be able to break out for the Giants. And maybe this is that little extra fire underneath him that he might have needed. And I was surprised because he's a little weird duck, and he thought, okay, they're going to draft a guy and he's going to hate it and asked to be traded the day after the draft. And that wasn't his response at all.
No.
Which is interesting, which is probably a very good sign.
And I think they'll do that NASCAR package with all three of them out there quite a bit and those type of things. But I could see him not just fading away quietly.
I love it. Speaking of reaching new heights, Malik Neighbors just going into a new stratosphere. Does that meet our breakout criteria? I don't know. And of course, Jackson Dart, you got a rookie quarterback that might start games this season. So clearly a breakout candidate for the New York Giants there.
Real quick on Neighbors. If anyone were to challenge in the whole league, Jefferson and Chase for best receiver in the league, I might pick Neighbors. Like, I think he could be that good.
Wow. That's the way I felt about the other receiver in New York that just got paid recently, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
And it just, there's other factors that don't allow that to happen sometimes, but talent's there.
That could be the case with Neighbors too.
Breakout player for, you got some more?
No, not for the Giants.
Okay.
I said, what team you want to go to?
I was going to just go to the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. They were really hard for me. I picked Jayden Blue just because I think one of their running backs will exceed expectations, and I don't have really any faith in Sanders or Williams. And on defense, a guy I kind of brought up before, Sam Williams is a talented edge guy that could maybe be their Highsmith. You know what I mean? They're Robin. That type of guy.
I like that. And if I'm looking at a training camp battle, it'd probably be Sam Williams versus Donovan Ezeraku for that. Yeah. Can you just even be a rotational third down guy and be the guy opposite Micah Parsons and be singled up all day long? And so that would be a fun one to watch for sure.
Yep. I like that quite a bit. And
Marshawn Nealon, they've got a lot of guys that they've drafted.
Yeah. There's talent there.
You just need somebody to develop, essentially.
Yep. And again, if one of them hits, it's worth it.
Yeah, just one. That's all you need.
All right, Eagles, all on defense, although they'll probably develop an offensive lineman or two, that are waiting in the wings. They drafted a bunch of them late. But I think Hunt, who we saw kind of break out in the Super Bowl, and we know he's a super talent, and Ijomo are both going to be the next rotational good defensive lineman for them. And then the other ones are Makuba, I think, is a pretty NFL-ready safety that at a position that isn't real strong for the Super Bowl champs. And here's a weird one. Uche. He just seems like a perfect guy that when a good team gets a hold of him and only uses him for 18 snaps a game as a speedball off the edge when they're winning by 20, he could be in his best situation yet. Not that he's been on bad teams, but I could see this group, that D-line coach, getting more out of Uche than anybody since Michigan.
It's just sort of the edge guys, right? Because we know it's Gordon Davis and Jalen Carter on the interior. Byron Young in the mix there as well. But the rookie Ty Robinson, you got Josh Uche.
Yeah.
You've got Nolan Smith. You've got Jalix Hunt. You got Azeez Ojulari. You got Moro Ojomo. Like all these defensive ends, all different shapes and sizes, a lot of speed. There's too many of them where you only need a couple of them to hit. And if three of them bust and never become good, that's okay. It's just a rotation and some talent and seeing who rises to the occasion. It's a fun group.
It is. And like you said, two of them can be bust and they'll still be fine. And somebody will emerge there.
They've got so many of them. Antoine Powell-Ryland as well.
I didn't realize how deep they were at edge.
And they're so deep, and that's how you can overcome. And look, that's a position you want to be deep at too, right? So you can overcome some of the free agent losses that they've had.
They don't have the Brandon Graham stalwart guy, but they have a million other names that have a lot of ability.
Yeah, and I love Makuba, and we still haven't even seen the best from their corners yet either. In Quinyon Mitchell, the first rounder from last year, Cooper DeJean, the second rounder from last year, Kelly Ringo.
Ringo could be a breakout. I don't love him, but
Mac McWilliams, another rookie this year. They could all break out into a new level. Sidney Brown was a highly drafted safety.
I almost put him on the list too. Brown and Makuba might be a really good tandem for a long time.
So plenty of breakout candidates for the team. Is already an embarrassment of riches for the Philadelphia Eagles there as they try to retool after a Super Bowl season. Last team here, breakout candidates for the Washington Commanders.
The safety / slot, Quan Martin. And that kind of goes back to college analysis. Not that he's been bad as a Commander, but I loved him coming out of school, and I could see him being a real good player. Kind of reaching on Luke McCaffrey, but I think he can be old school white guy slot Welker dude. You know, I mean, I think that's in the cards for him. He's kind of new to the position as well. But my favorite one is the starting tackle from last year that's going into guard, Coleman. I mean, I think that he's overly talented for a guard. He was capable at tackle. Now that Tunsil and a first-round pick there at tackle, I think they got better maybe at 3 spots. I think Coleman has a chance to be Pro Bowler, borderline type guy, you know?
As a guard rather than
as a guard. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. My guy, and again, we're going to pre-draft priors, is Jerzon Johnny Newton. And he kind of
I should have picked him too. I loved him coming out of school.
I mean, I loved him coming out. I like Quan Martin as well, too.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. But Johnny Newton, had a first round grade, fell to the second round, had that foot injury. He wasn't able to work out in the spring. And we were talking about on yesterday's show about the second round picks and some guys. And, you need to get on the field and not have those injuries that nag through your rookie year because it becomes a lost season. So he didn't get to practice at all until halfway through the season. All of a sudden it's like, okay, here you go. Now you're an NFL player, but you had no camp and, who knows what kind of shape you're in. And it just was not a good rookie season for Johnny Newton. And they even brought in Javon Kinlaw, which tells you they're kind of side-eyeing Johnny Newton right now.
I wonder if it's a health thing forever with him.
With the foot injury, which is why he fell out of the first round.
Yeah.
And that was one of the weirdest offseason signings I thought with Javon Kinlaw, because I just don't think he's that good. They gave him a decent amount of money, and they've already got Daron Payne there. So now there's some competition for Johnny Newton. If he's healthy and he can be that player that we saw in college, I love him to break out at some point.
That could change their fortunes. If he's the player we think he could be, as opposed to always on the sideline, that could be a pivotal guy for their defense.
That's huge. Not necessarily an end. There would be another defensive tackle, but you can move him around and Kinlaw and put together a group there of your best 4. And you got Von Miller now, the veteran, to come off the edge.
Especially on passing downs. I mean, he needs to be out there.
There you go. Who are your breakout players in the NFC East? Did your team get better? Let us know at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL in the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there. Back next time, continuing previewing the NFC for 2025. Peacock and Williamson.